The classic Nirvana pedal setup is pretty simple, just a distortion and a chorus. Specifically, either a Boss DS1 or DS2 and an Electro-Harmonic small clone. These are the only two pedals that Kurt Cobain had on stage at his feet throughout the Nevermind era. At surface level, this would seem like a pretty minimalist pedal setup. But if you take a deeper dive, you'll find that Kurt was a much more experimental guitarist than one might initially think. Just as he was massively influenced by the melodic pop sensibilities of the Beatles, he was every bit as influenced by the unconventional sounds of the Melvins, Sonic Youth, and Scratch Acid, among many others. In this video, we'll be ranking Kurt Cobain's 10 craziest guitar sounds, exploring the wild and unhinged side of his guitar playing. We'll also break down what Kurt used to get these sounds and what we can use present day to replicate them. Keep in mind that some songs might appear twice on this list. We are not ranking the songs themselves, but purely the effect or the guitar tone that's on a specific version of that song. Starting at number 10 is the only straight up distorted tone on my list, Kurt's Illiteracy Will Prevail Fecal Matter Fuzz tone. Fecal Matter was Kurt Cobain's first short-lived band. In 1986, him and Melvins drummer Dale Crover recorded a collection of Kurt's early songs, which resulted in the brash and almost mythical Illiteracy Will Prevail demo tape. This tape has what I would argue is Kurt's most aggressive and quote-unquote ugliest guitar sound. He got this sound by plugging his Phase 3 Univox High Flyer into a Univox Super Fuzz pedal, which then went directly into the tape recorder. I am recreating this sound using my Eastwood High Flyer, which has Curtis Novak Phase 3 humbuckers, and my Nerdvana Young Man Fuzz pedal. Next, at number 9, is Setless Apprentice on the In Utero tour. On Nirvana's final two tours, Kurt's pedal setup expanded, and he relied on the Electro-Harmonix polychorus for a variety of unconventional sounds that he brought to the stage. For Setless Apprentice, he used a slapback setting that's pretty faithful to the sound that we hear on the In Utero record. I've always particularly loved the bridge section live, having that effect going while Kurt was bending random dissonant chords. In a 1994 interview for Fender Frontline magazine, Kurt was asked, "On In Utero and in concert, you play some of the most powerful anti-solos ever hacked out on a guitar. What comes to mind for you when it's time for the guitar to cut loose?" To which Kurt answered, "Less than you could ever imagine." Number 8 is the bridge of Drain You during the Roseland Ballroom show in July of 1993. Instead of going for the small clone like he usually did, Kurt instead clicked on his Electro-Harmonix Echo Flanger, which was set to a rapid and intense slapback effect. This resulted in a very unique and memorable performance of this song. In my opinion, this bridge really stands out in comparison to all the other times this song was played live. Number 7 is the heart-shaped box solo on the In Utero tour. Kurt used his polychorus for a distinctly swirly effect for this brief solo that sounds absolutely nothing like any of the recorded versions of this song. One of the highlights, in my opinion, of the In Utero tour guitar tone-wise. We're now jumping way back to the pre-Bleach era for number 6, the delay on If You Must. Recorded at Nirvana's very first studio session in January of 1988, If You Must has the unique distinction of being one of the 2 Nirvana songs that features Kurt's delay pedal on its studio recording, a Boss DM2. He did not use this delay pedal in the traditional sense at all. Instead, he used it to achieve an intense oscillation effect that he switches off right as it's starting to become uncomfortable. A super unique yet short-lived sound in Nirvana's catalog. Starting off the top 5 of my list is Kurt's feedback on Nirvana's final song, You Know You're Right. Kurt gets credit for a lot of things as a singer, songwriter, and guitarist, but something I feel about him that often gets overlooked is his mastery of feedback control. We get the impression that he was able to get any flavor of squealing or howling feedback on the spot, and no other studio recording showcases this better than You Know You're Right. Kurt most likely got this sound simply just by playing the guitar really loud and probably really close to his amp. I like to use the Digitech Freakout to emulate the sound of Kurt's guitar screaming in distress. Another thing I love to use this feedback pedal for is to get that really cool feedback that Kurt would get before school on the In Utero tour. Next up at number 4 is the heart-shaped box solo in the original Albini mix. There are several different mixes of Heart-Shaped Box, with Steve Albini's original 1993 mix being the most abrasive and in-your-face. It features a solo with a strong and almost harsh tremolo effect, which Kurt achieved by using Albini's ridiculously rare Pedal X. There's great lore to this, as bassist Chris Novoselic was admittedly very much against this effect. He has said, "You should hear the original version of that song. The guitar solo had this effect on it. It just sabotages the whole song." Steve and Kurt were colluding. I would go to Kurt, "Why are you sabotaging this beautiful song by putting this hideous abortion in the center of it?" He'd be like, "Well, I think it sounds cool." Number 3 is the very prominent phaser effect in Kermagin. Released as the B-side on the Lithium single, Kermagin opens up with a giant phaser sound that could be looked at as a preview of the more experimental side of the band that was to come with In Utero. For years, this sound was long believed to have been achieved by an MXR Phase 100. But recently, my very good friend Enrique over at Nerdvana found out from talking directly to session engineer Barrett Jones that Kurt actually used an Electro-Harmonix small stone for this song. Whichever it may be, this is a very memorable sound that was never brought to the stage. The very few live performances that we have of this song feature no phaser at all. It's exclusive to the studio version. Number 2 are the twisted alien sounds of radio-friendly unit shifter. Imagine you're seeing Nirvana live on the In Utero tour. The lights go out on an empty stage, and the audience around you erupts in anticipation. While eagerly waiting for anything to happen, you start to hear these demented guitar sounds as 4 silhouettes make their way on stage. You hear 4 stick clicks, and the lights burst on as the band launches into one of its best riffs. I believe that Radio Friendly Unit Shifter was Nirvana's absolute best set opener. No one will ever be able to convince me otherwise. Kurt achieved this sound on the In Utero album by using his Electro-Harmonix Echo Flanger, while on tour he used the Electro-Harmonix Polychorus. This is probably the most sought-after Nirvana guitar sound after Kurt's Boss distortions and small clone sounds. I use my Dandy Horse Echo Flanger clone to get these sounds, and I'm going to include a very special clip here of one of the best moments of my life. Playing Kurt's actual Fender Mustang, the real Skystang 1, through my Echo Flanger clone to get these sounds. Topping off my list at number 1 is what fans call the Jet Effect during Setless Apprentice at Nirvana's Hollywood Rock Rio de Janeiro show. Kurt used his Echo Flanger here to achieve an overwhelmingly ruthless flanger effect that feels like it could teleport you to another dimension if you listen to it for too long. This show took place roughly 1 month before the In Utero sessions, and we can see that Kurt was still experimenting and testing the waters with the mammoth of a song that is Setless Apprentice, with this relentless 10-minute rendition that predominantly features the sound of Kurt's Jaguar taking off into space. Those are my top 10 favorite crazy Nirvana guitar sounds that I feel best demonstrate Kurt's experimental side as a guitarist. Let me know in the comments what you think of my choices, and if there are any more unconventional guitar sounds that you would have included in this list. Thank you so much for watching, and an extra special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nirvana Guitars, and subscribe and check out my other Nirvana gear videos right here on YouTube.